Hey, so good afternoon, everybody. Once again, this is Jose Rador Jr., your neighborhood friendly insurance agent, episode number 2 of the Little Bit About Everything podcast. And of course, I have today none other than my main man, Mr. Sebastian, Mr. Clear to Close himself, the man, the myth, the legend. What's going on, my brother?
Good afternoon, my brother, man. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you so much for having me here. This is huge. This is huge. I'm happy to be here on your second episode, brother. That's awesome.
Yeah, to cycle, man, bro. We're trying to build it up, trying to get different people from all different walks of life on here, and to talk about everything, man. You know how it is. Just as long as we don't talk about politics or religion, we be good, because that tends to be a little controversial. I'm trying to have nobody fight up in here. You know what I mean?
Amen.
But yeah, man. Like I'm so happy that we're doing this, and obviously you're my guy, man. I love you to death, man. You're like a brother to me, and
love you too, brother.
I'm just so happy that you're here. So to kind of get things started, man, kind of introduce yourself. What do you do? Who you do it for? Like, what's going on? Talk to us about Sebastian.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for the intro. So yeah, I'm a senior loan officer. I specialize with residential, commercial, hard money lending. I'm with Seacoast Mortgage. So we are licensed in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Florida. And yeah, man, we're just, starting state by state until we take over the world.
Oh, I like that. I like that, brain. I think so, right? So again, you're a loan officer. And how long you been doing that for, bro?
So I got into the business. It's actually my 6th year. Started with DCU, is actually a credit union, which I love. So shout out to DCU. Phenomenal bank. But they taught me a lot of the fundamentals where I got first license, learned credit. From there, went into the financial district, worked for a bank down there. Really opened up my eyes, man. Working with multimillionaires, a lot of wealth management clients, right, where it was all different spectrums of lending. I was dealing with different loan officers, right? I was assisting them. I was working with commercial, construction. I was working with residential, CRA lending. So it was awesome. Learned a lot. But from at that point when I said, you know what, I'm ready. I'm ready to launch off and get on my own and start, be my own loan officer and help my own people. Reason I got into it, actually, it's a funny story. When I first started, when I was working with DCU, got licensed to get my mortgage license. I was buying my first home, and I remember it was the worst experience of my life, man. I mean, I would call my loan officer and ask her any questions. Her answer, no lie, was, that question isn't for me. You got to call this person. So I said, okay, I'll call her again with another question. Okay, yep, that question isn't for me. You got to call that person. All right, well, what do you do? What can you help me out with? So hey, what do you just pick up the phone and say hi, bye? No, but, so at the end of the day, I said, there's got to be a better way for us to be able to give back, right? To be able to have a better experience for anybody, first-time home buyers, investors, multimillionaire, wealth management. It should be same bar for everybody, right? That's why I want to be, a master in my craft and what I do.
That's actually great, man. And I know from experiences, you and I have been doing business for a while, that you really, you truly are there for your clients, man. And, your clients do love you for the most part,
Thank you.
No, but I know you go above and beyond for your clients, man. And, that's great. So speaking of which, right, we kind of, you kind of briefly, touched up on your why, right? Now, like, what drives you, man? And what's your vision for the either short term or long term? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Appreciate that, man. Well, definitely the future is the technology. So I think what we're creating right now is we're setting ourselves apart and ready for the future. So when this whole millennial market comes in, and then the next generation comes in, we've already been able to get an advantage and a step ahead with the technology, right? But really what drives me, my passion and the future, what I see is, I want my name to be the first name that pops into somebody's head when somebody or mortgages comes into their mind. When they hear mortgages, first thing they should pop into their head is Sebastian, right? And in order to do that, it's a matter of just continuing to work hard, dedication, put the passion in, head down, and grind.
So that's good, right? Because that should be ultimately our, whatever profession that we're in, that definitely should be our goal. So, but speaking of which, you said, you want Sebastian is to clear the clothes, right? To pop up into the person's head the second they think about, mortgages. So now, what do you consider to be like, I guess, the most important variable or the most important thing as you in expanding your clientele and really being top of mind with regards to your clientele?
Awesome question, man. So aside from marketing, the social media, taking advantage of the different platforms that we can reach endless amount of people, right? Is also most importantly is creating a team. Okay. I think that for me in the future, what I see myself is being able to teach my craft or my knowledge, being able to grow a team underneath me that, we're all working together because the more you grow, the more clients you get, the more areas you're conquering, the more help I'm going to need. I can't take them all, right? So it's a matter of educating, building a solid team where we can produce all these different leads and referrals, but we can attain them and keep everybody happy.
So that's good, right? So just to kind of, I think, growth is definitely right. A great thing to look forward to and to have in mind. But you got to be able to do your job, right? You got to be able to do it effectively because if not, it kind of sucks when you don't. You know what I mean? So it's actually very good that you brought that up. So now with that also, along with building a team, passing your knowledge on to other professionals and kind of building your team up, so what are your thoughts on like building relationships and like expanding your network? Do you see that as an important tool to get to your goals?
Absolutely, man. For me, I was always raised up on word of mouth, right? Reputation. So
Mhm.
you know, my mother always installed in me is, when you leave the house, you go out because you don't know who you're going to meet that day. You might meet the most influential person that you'll ever meet in your life. So the first impression is the most important one, right?
Yeah.
So it's always important to also know how to talk to somebody, how to approach them, but at the same time, listen, right? Because everybody's, when they're talking, they're telling you something about them. So if you can actually listen, incorporate, and kind of give back to them, that relationship, it has to go both ways. So that's the number one crucial piece, I think, of growing an empire is being able to communicate with people around you, build networks, and be able to have a phone call, say, hey, I need a carpenter. Oh, I got a person for you. Here's a person for you. It's all about networking, brother.
Absolutely, and I think that's kind of piggybacking on what you said. I think that's also one of the big, one thing that I've learned is that, we're only as valuable as our network. You know what I mean? Like, one of the things that I strive to do is really become a hub for everybody that I know, right? So if anybody needs something,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, Jose, do you know, what I mean? And I may not know someone, but at least the person thought that I did, right? You know what I mean? So, it really kind of, it's a really good thing our networks are really invaluable. We look at it from that standpoint. And that's why I like, that's kind of how you and I met, right? That's kind
Yep.
of how you and I, started to do business. And speaking of first impressions, I won't get into that. What was my first impression of you? Because I want to keep this G-rated. But but you're absolutely right. And I think your mom is very wise. And by the way, hi Sebastian's mom.
Happy Mother's Day week.
That's a fact too. Very good. That's good. And but I think it's great that she gave you that advice because it is true. And as long as you keep that in mind, again, you're a great professional. So, but that's actually
Thank
something
you.
very
Thank you.
good.
And I want to add that actually, because my mother always installed that in me, but what my father always taught me was if you want to be successful, you hang around successful people.
Yes. Era como dicen, dime con quién anda y te diré quién eres, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's also very true, man. So I'm glad, right? Kind of like the same, with me, like we've been able to take these lessons that perhaps when our parents were like telling us when we were young, we were like, te vio cacarrabia, or, what do you? But now that we're adults and we're actually in the professional realm, we see that these things are really really valuable and so that's great that we've been able to that you've been able to implement those lessons as you're growing up. So another thing that I kind of like to get your thoughts on, it's like throughout your career, right? Throughout since you became, so you came into the real estate industry in a way through mortgages. what has been the most valuable lesson that you've learned?
Oh man, there's been so many.
Well, just give us one.
We learn every day, brother. But I think that
That's
the
true.
most valuable one, yeah, I think the most valuable one is learning from your mistakes because, especially as a loan officer when I first started, making a couple mistakes that were horrible,
Yeah,
I learned right away. I can tell you that I've never made that same mistake twice. And I think that's the most important piece is you're going to make mistakes. We're humans, right? But if we learn from that mistake and we can make sure that we don't make that same mistake, then we're only growing.
absolutely. I think that's a great lesson, right? And then to be open to mistakes. I was
Mhm.
in a clubhouse room the other day, and we were precisely talking about that, and people have such a like negative connotation about like making mistakes, and it's like, yeah, I mean, nobody likes to make mistakes, right? That's a given, but
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you said, if you learn from it and it makes you a better person and a better professional, then was it really that bad?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I look at it as two ways. I look at it as a mistake, and I also look at it as an opportunity to learn from it.
absolutely, and as long as and as long as we're learning,
Mm.
that's
A veces hay gente cabeza dura,
I don't know, claro, por supuesto, that's, I think there's human nature, you know what I mean? I think sometimes, sometimes our inclinations tend to get the best of us just because, we have our inclinations, but at the end of the day, for the most part, like you said, if we take a negative, if we take a mistake that we make and we use that to not repeat it again or to,
Mm.
so I was reading a book, which we'll get into that later on, but that says that sometimes a mistake is, life's way of telling you that you're going about things that you're going the right path, but you got to go about it differently. You know what I mean?
Mm.
You got to change your direction. So sometimes when we have goals and something tragic happens or we make a mistake and kind of everything falls apart, we may be like, oh, maybe
Mm.
I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, no, not necessarily.
Mm.
If
I
reaching our
see.
goals is a straight path, everybody would be, you know,
Right. I see what you're saying. So you're going in the right direction. You're just taking the wrong route.
you're taking the wrong route. So sometimes you gotta look at it that way. Because again, if we let mistakes, defeat us, they will for sure. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
you've in your instance, I'm sure you've had instances where something happened and like a deal falls apart.
Mm.
And it just happens. Just maybe there was something you could do, maybe it wasn't, whatever that was. But now moving forward, I'm pretty sure you've been able to
Yeah.
adapt and use that as a learning point moving forward.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
So now, as far as kind of talking about our careers and success and everything like that, how do you define that, right? Like how do you feel about success, even wealth, right? How does Sebastian define that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, besides the asset, the bank accounts, the properties you own, the cash flow you have, and the career you have, right? I think success, more importantly, is your health and your mental state, right? I think if you're successfully and positive here, um, we're all going to fall down. It's just a matter of getting up, man, and basically staying positive, right? To reach that goal. If you have a goal here, right, and you're going to reach it there, the only person that's going to prevent you from reaching is yourself, right? So I
A
think,
fact.
yeah, it'd be, how do I gauge success? Of course, having my name out there when someone wants to buy their first home, their second home, invest. I mean, that's success, right? That's awesome. Having family around you, family time, being able to balance your time and business. So, kind of to answer your question, I think more aside from the material stuff is more your health and your mental state, and being positive.
That's great, man. That's actually and it's actually very simple, very simplified. Easier said than done sometimes, right?
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
it's it's a lot of us tend to associate whether it's wealth or success with what you said, and something wrong with wanting to have a bigger bank account, a nicer car, a bigger home, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
There's, to a certain extent, there's nothing wrong with that, but at what cost are we, are we achieving these things? There's a lot of rich people who are miserable.
Yeah, yeah, and it's, I mean, I think that you just said it exactly correct, man. Rich, right? It's about being wealthy. It's about being rich and mentally happy, right? Where
Absolutely.
it's a full circle, right? So, and yeah, of course, I don't see myself stopping until I've got my lake house, I got my boat, I've got my kids running around with their nice stuff. But at the end of the day, if I'm not happy, if my whole family's miserable, they don't see me every day, then how successful is that? You know what I mean?
There you go. There you go. And that's something, and that's a lesson, man, that, especialmente those of us that came from like humble beginnings, like, like our parents came here,
Yeah,
without much, and,
yeah,
maybe we're like on government assistance and this and
yeah.
that. And, and then all of a sudden we come into this uh, to the real estate, industry, and then we see that the potential to, whether it's selling real estate, in your case mortgages, in my case insurance, and we see the potential to just make a killing,
Mhm.
and then you're right, it's good. Don't get me wrong, having money is great. That's, you go to Mexico on a monthly basis, and you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's like, at what cost? If our family is miserable, then,
Yeah.
no
Work
money is
hard,
going to
play
fix
hard.
that. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
No money is going to fix that. And it's just a matter. And again, nothing wrong with having money. That's what we do this for. We're not a
That's
nonprofit,
why,
sure.
yeah,
But it's true, man. I think that, your wealth and success and everything like that. I think, me personally, everything starts there. The wealth and the success really start at home, and then you can kind of. So if at least, and it's tough. That's easier said than done, right? But
yeah.
I think human nature sometimes is to also like test our limits, right? You know what I mean? And see how, how much we can how far we can get before, the stuff is the fan type of thing. And if I have that
Yep.
approach with success and with my family balance, like, okay, how much time can I spend at work without, sacrificing time for my family? And just take it to that limit. And if I see that I'm spending too much, then, you can kind of take it back. And then, because at the end of the day, here at home is the most important thing.
Hey, you're absolutely right, man. I mean, and that's the whole point, right? Is, to be able to, for example, like my parents, they worked here. I was born here in the United States. Then I was sent back to Colombia. While they worked, they grinded. They actually built a foundation. Then I was brought back 3-4 years after, where they already were ready, right? So stuff like that, where, I don't want to do that with my kids. I want to be able to have already that ready for them, right? And yeah, I mean, I think it's a matter of preparing ourselves now, right? And at the same time, yeah, not sacrificing family
Yeah,
time and your happiness for something that at the end of the day, you might not even get to enjoy as much as, you could have otherwise.
absolutely. And it's crazy because, like, with me, I can tell you this from experience. And again, I thank God every day that, of course, we're by no means rich or wealthy, and, but we're definitely in a better place. But some of the best times that we've had as a family, man, have been when I've been at our most financially miserable. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like, granted, nobody likes to be in that position. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, like, with the children and like, they really, really, yeah, they want things too. They want nice things too. They want to get that pair of sneakers. They want to get that PS5 or whatever the case may be. Of course they do. I mean, I was a kid too, and I wanted it. But, I think I've seen firsthand how the most important thing we can give our kids is time, and of our resources is that, like, being spending time with them and just putting a smile on their face, man. Like, this is incredible. So I'm so glad that you feel that same way too, where it's like, yeah, it's nice having things, and we should all strive to do that. That
Oh,
lake
for sure.
house, that boat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Me avisa cuando lo compre para yo, o sea, para yo irme, tú sabes.
Ya, ahorita nos vamos ya.
Oh, okay, it's pulling up to the. Okay, I got you. Pulling up to the.
Wrap it up, bro. Wrap it up.
I don't know where you're gonna park in Air, but or in Auburn.
No, Not there yet. Not there yet. Kidding. But listen, I think one point that you touched on is I think, you know, I don't want to get too into religious and stuff, but I think everything happens for a reason. I think maybe God also, if I would have had everything in my life from day one and been spoiled and had a trust fund baby, I don't know if I would be alive. You know what I mean? But I think now I'm learning the value of now creating wealth and actually appreciating and know how to manage it instead of getting all this stuff and not knowing what to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, people see a lot of people who win the lottery, next thing you know, they're broke.
And it's crazy. I was reading a post yesterday, and I don't remember verbatim, but it was a tweet from somebody, and it says that if you can't handle $1,000, you know, you won't be able to handle, you know, 10,000. You know, and it was saying, you know, it says financial literacy isn't a byproduct of having more money. You know, it's a product of being disciplined, right? So, and that's why, like you said, you made that point. A lot of people who win the lottery, you know, and oftentimes in a short amount of time, they're out of it.
Broke. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Broke.
Because they just threw it all away. They didn't know what to do to invest it, and
they owe that money back.
And that's very true. You know what I mean? So again, you know, it's just so important to be able to just, you know, really, really dig that, you know, deep down, understand that, yes, it's great having things, man. I, for one, love having nice things. But at the end of the day, I also love having a good family life. And that's invaluable, man. So I'm glad, you know, that we talked about that. So now, as far as, you know, speaking of like values, right now, when it comes, you know, to our business, to you, Sebastian, what has been the most important value? What is the most important value in you doing business?
Oh man, there's several, man. I know. I mean, it's transparency, it's communication. I mean, it's dedication, it's passion in what I do, right? It's responsiveness. It's being, you know, being there, being present, but most importantly, I think also being likable. You know, I remember when I first started in business.
That's tough for you. I'm not gonna lie.
For me, very tough.
Yeah,
very tough.
I barely
I lose sleep.
Barely.
I lose sleep over that. But
that's a good one. That's a good one.
But yeah, no, it's I think yeah, I lost my train of thought, but it's just that
use of responsiveness, you know, transparency, all these things of value.
Being likable. Okay, so I remember when I first started, one of the realtors that I work with, you know, very closely, he says, first time I met him, he goes, you know, you don't have to be the best loan officer. You don't have to be the most knowledgeable. I just gotta like you and trust you. And I did just that. And, you know, my knowledge has been growing since that day, since I was born, obviously. But I kind of engraved that in is also, you've got to be likable. You got to be able to trust or gain people's trust, you know, which also comes with knowledge. So if you know what you're talking about, you're going to gain that trust quicker.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's also very, and that's actually good because, you know, and that I think the same applies to just about every profession, right? Like, you know, the knowledge, you know, knowing a lot is good. Don't get me wrong. Knowing, you said, you know, when you can speak confidently about a subject, of course, that's good, you know. But you can have all the knowledge in the world, and if you're just not a douchebag, or you don't come across as a nice person, this is a lot of knowledge. You know what I mean? So I think that's actually very, very good that you brought that up. And like you said, you know, transparency, being able to communicate. And especially like in your business, man, like how does communication really help you be effective in what you do?
Oh, that's my bread and butter now, man. I learned my lesson. That was one of the lessons I learned too, is, you know, making sure that you set the right expectations, right? So right now is, you know, you always, you know, under promise, over deliver, right? And it goes with the listing agent, right? You speak to the listing agent, or what I like to say is just say, hey, you know, be transparent. Just, hey, this, you know, I need 30 to 45 days. It's a solid deal, but hey, the appraisals are backed up. Hey, the IRS is backed up because of COVID, and just putting that bug in their ear up front, right? Because towards the end of the transaction, that communication is not a surprise to them. It's already been given, right?
Yeah.
So that's huge, man. It's just being communication and being transparent, letting everybody know, especially the borrower. I mean, I think As a first-time home buyer, it's very tough. Which this new technology we're going to have, you're going to actually be able to keep track of the whole process of the loan. But my point is, right now, a lot of buyers don't know, right? A lot of loan officers aren't calling them every week or text, hey, the status of your loan is X, and next week will be Y. You know, a lot of them don't do it, but I think it's important that we do.
And speaking of which, because we were talking about technology too prior to starting to record, and you said something about your home seminar, the home buyer seminar is coming up, and so what's going on with that?
You're kind of cutting in and out, but June 5th, yeah. So June 5th, we will be having a home buying seminar. I'll be holding it with Julio Roque here at the office of Seacoast Mortgage. So that will be at 567 South Bridge Street. You'll see it on Facebook. We'll be promoting it and stuff, but I think it's going to be huge. It's valuable. We're going to be launching. He's going to be launching his system, right? So he has a whole new system where this technology is really going to bring lending to a whole new futuristic reality that nobody's ready for, but we will teach and make people ready for. But at the same time, be able to also explain the loan process, the mortgage process, because the technology helps too, but I think it's also valuable for us to give information, both physically, piece of paper, a book, right? Or verbally telling them. Some people learn in different ways. So, that's kind of the goal, is to be able to attack each way, verbally, both visually, and then technologically.
That's awesome, man. And it's so good too, because a lot of people are ready to just get out of the house, even if it's just to go, to a seminar, which of course is going to be beneficial for them, because the home buying process without guidance can be a a pretty terrible process. But the fact that you have people like yourself and Julio, who, by the way, Julio, we love you, brother.
Genius, yes. Salud.
You know what I mean? So having people like you and Julio and the rest of it, everybody there, Mario, Wander, everybody there, just to be able to kind of really want to talk about this with people and walk them through that process. It's incredible. So one last thing that I wanted to ask you, and I don't want to put you on the spot, because I know that's a soft spot for you, because you have un poquito de complejo con eso. But do you read? Like,
in English or Spanish?
Not what grade level. Just want to know what. No, just kidding. But do you read, or like, what is your favorite like business book or any type of literature that you recommend?
I think I know how to read now. Do I know how to read well? I don't think so.
That's a different story. Your comprehension.
Well, the little picture books that I've read, that I would say.
The Little Picture. Wow, Dr. Seuss. Nice.
I want to say, one of the books I love, and a lot of people have read it, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think that for me, it opened up my eyes, the way of thinking, the way of, how wealthy
I gotta read that book, man.
Oh, you have to, brother. It's an awesome book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's really not that long. I know you can't read too long, so it's not that long, brother. Pero otro.
Se me cruzan los ojos. Me mareo.
Another book I want to give a shout out to is Julio Roque's book. He has a great book that's Price Doesn't Matter. And I think that piece of information is also a game changer. I think his knowledge and what he's bringing to this industry is going to make it a lot better and easier for all of our clients in our real estate industry. That's
awesome, man. And I will definitely, I don't know why I've been putting it off for so long, but I will get a copy of his book. And because I've been kind of, privy a little bit to what you guys got going on over there. And I think it's, like you said, it's going to be a game changer. Because again, information it's vital, man. People, yes. The more information you can give a client, and without giving them everything, because you want to make sure that, right, you want to keep them attached to you, and to a certain extent. But the more information you can give a client, so they can make a well-informed decision, that's going to be, that's huge, man. So now, lastly, man, like, how can people best reach out to you, talk to you? Any last, words of wisdom you want to leave us with, man?
Oh, man, I just want to say thank you to you. Jose, you're a brother to me. I appreciate it. Everything you're doing is great. Bro. I enjoy doing business with you. All my clients are happy with everything you do for them.
Thank you.
So thank you again.
I'll cash app you some for the plug. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, Venmo, please. But
Venmo. Yes, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah. But no, again, thank you, brother. It's always a pleasure. I wish you much success. I know you're gonna do great in this podcast. And when you've got 1 million subscriptions, man, don't forget about us poor people over here.
Bro,
right.
tú sabes que yo, you know how it is, bro. Before I get to 1 million, speaking of like handling money, we probably spend it all on tequila and we'll buy 25 or something. I might just buy it.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, man.
We get that top shelf whiskey up there.
Absolutely, yeah. It's crazy because I was in South Carolina a couple of weeks ago, and they have the supermarket called the Piggly Wiggly, and in the supermarket they have a section that's like beer, and they have all different kinds of beer. Like it's almost like going into a liquor store, and it's like with beers that I've never heard of. Like it's unbelievable. Yeah, bro. It's like
IPAs and stuff like that, all different.
That's all, bro. That's all. So if I get 1 million subscribers, I might just open up a franchise up here and just kind of have all that. No, but not, bro. You know that I appreciate you, man. And I really, really am glad that we were able to do this, bro. And I don't know if you mentioned how can people best reach you.
Thank you, brother. So you can always reach me directly at my cell phone. The number is 508-439-2576. You can always reach me on my Facebook page, which is Sebastian Cordoba Mortgages. I have an Instagram at Mr. Clear to Close. LinkedIn as well at Sebastian Cordoba. But yeah, cell phone's the best way. Always reach out. And again, thank you very much for your time, brother.
No, mi hermano, I just want to once again say thank you to you for doing this. Again, we got to get together soon just to, grab a drink or something, man. Pero un abrazo, mi hermano.
Igualmente, brother.
Te quiero mucho, bro. And just be safe. Say hi to everybody out there, man.
Will do. Lo quiero mucho y lo bendiga, bro.
Igual, papá.